The Istanbul Cipher. Chapter 7. The youth center feels wrong without sound. Not empty, just paused. Like someone hit mute on what used to be movement and momentum. Only two figures remain in the glass-walled workspace. Sibel hunched over a laminated city grid. Leyla with headphones in, eyes fixed on her laptop, playing and replaying the footage from the showcase. I don't interrupt. I lean against the doorframe, watching their quiet resilience. Sibel has a pencil tucked behind her ear, a ruler on one side, a municipal plan from 1984 stretched out in front of her. She marks something in the margins, flips to a transparency sheet, overlays it with a satellite image. Her jaw tenses, then relaxes. She's making connections no one trained her to make. She's doing it anyway. Layla's shoulders are tight. Her lips move with the words from her speech, again. Then the screen glitches. The crash. The red error. She flinches, pulls the earbuds out, and rubs her face hard like she's trying to scrub off shame. They're carrying this differently, I think. But they're still carrying it. I step inside. Any progress? Sibel barely looks up. More like rearranging ruins. Leyla mutters, "I'm trying to rebuild the AR table. But every time I try to load the old build, it chokes. The footage just dies there." I nod slowly. Maybe you shouldn't keep watching it. "I need to know what happened," she says, too quickly. "If I don't figure it out, it's just failure." Sibel glances over. Failure is when you stop. I open my satchel, take out a portable projector, and place it on the table. You two aren't alone in this. I still believe in the project. Layla's hands go still on the keyboard. She doesn't look at me, but she nods, just once. It's small, but it's movement. Outside, a tram grinds past, and the center hums faintly with returning life. I didn't hear from Emre all morning. No, sorry I'm late. No cryptic one-word texts, just radio silence. So I imagined him exactly where he is now, lit by the blue glow of a screen in a dark room, hunched over lines of code that read like scripture to him. I'd seen that posture before, not just focus, isolation. His laptop hums quietly. On screen, endless lines of server logs scroll past as he cross-checks timestamps, deployment branches, and error reports. He's not just debugging now, he's hunting. He pauses, blinks, scrolls back. There, one line of code buried in a third-party library. It wasn't in the final commit. Emre leans closer, checks the metadata. Timestamp, 20 minutes before the showcase demo. He hadn't touched the server since the night before. His breath catches. He checks the source. The injected string calls a malformed memory handler. Deliberate, not accidental, designed to fail. His fingers fly. He traces the IP address that committed the code. Firewall, firewall. Then, a partial hit. It came from a subnet tied to the cultural ministry. He sits back in his chair, stunned. "They hacked us," he whispers. Then softer, "He hacked us." His hands tremble, not out of fear but fury. The thing he built, the thing they all believed in, wasn't broken. It was broken into. He saves the logs, creates backups. His fingers hover over his phone. He doesn't call anyone yet. Not Zack. Not Leyla. Instead, he stares at the screen where the error used to be and says out loud, "It was never about code. It was about control." A long breath leaves his lungs, like something inside him just clicked back into place. He knows what they're up against now, and he's not walking away. Ayla didn't come to the youth center that morning either. No message, no update. I found out later where she went. Not by tracking her, but from the voice notes she left herself. One of the girls played them for me. Half rant, half reckoning. I told them to go smaller, she mutters in one. Scale first, test second. But no, truth deserves a stage. And now what? Another note recorded minutes later crackles with wind. I'm not mad they failed. I'm mad they let him win. He made us look like amateurs. Worse, like kids playing with things we don't understand. There's a long silence after that. Then one final note. I stopped by the school today, or what's left of it. That's where I picture her. Standing across from a crumbling stone archway, the bones of an old building swallowed by apartment blocks and satellite dishes. A rusted plaque says nothing of the children who studied there, or the teacher who smuggled books past checkpoints. No dates, no names. Just a locked gate and a vine-choked courtyard. Ayla stood there and watched a group of kids kicking a football around the rubble. She didn't film it, didn't tweet it, just stood. And then, in a voice no louder than a whisper, she said, "They don't even know it was a school." There's no anger in that voice, no strategy, just grief. She was always the one calculating outcomes, measuring risks. But in that moment, she wasn't thinking like a planner. She was remembering like a witness. And that changes everything. By the time I arrived at the youth center that afternoon, only Sibel remained. She sat cross-legged on the floor beside a scatter of translucent map overlays, her laptop open beside a box of old municipal plans. The space was quiet, too quiet. No Ayla pacing, no Leyla arguing with a stylus in her hand. I stepped inside. Working solo today? She didn't look up. They needed space. I didn't. I crouched beside her, glancing at the files. What are you looking for? She lifted a sheet and held it against the light. These blocks, marked for clearance in '84. But this layer from the original cadastral map shows something beneath. Narrower divisions, older grid lines. They didn't just tear down buildings, they rewrote the map. I nodded slowly. You really believe the site Leyla's grandmother remembered is buried under this? Her answer came without hesitation. I believe it was meant to be forgotten. I studied her for a long beat. Why are you still here, Sibel? After the crash, the press, even your friends scattered. She exhaled. Because my family never told stories out loud. We painted them, etched them into tiles, hid them behind cupboard walls. That's how we stayed safe. She looked up at me then. There was no bitterness in her face, just a tired truth. If we don't leave a trace, then one day no one will believe we were ever here. And there it was. Not just historical interest, not school credit, survival. Her family had lived in the city without a voice, and now she was building one. I leaned back, quiet. Zack, she said, folding one of the maps with surgical care. This isn't just a project. It's a reckoning. Emre's room was lit only by the glow of his screen, lines of code scrolling past like falling rain. His headphones dangled around his neck, forgotten. He was too deep for distractions now. I wasn't there, but I could imagine the scene. His fingers flying, mind racing, chasing something he could feel but hadn't yet seen. For hours, he'd sifted through server logs and commits, comparing hash values, tracing timestamp anomalies. When he spotted it, a line of injected code buried in the update file, he froze. The signature wasn't his. He checked the metadata. Timestamp, 6 minutes before the showcase. 6 minutes before it all collapsed. He opened a terminal window and ran a trace. The IP address pinged back. A government subnet. Cultural Ministry. Emre sat back in his chair, chest heaving. He ran the trace again. Same result. He copied the log, saved screenshots, zipped the folder. Then he whispered into the stillness of his room. He did it. Kadir sabotaged us. He didn't call anyone, didn't message the group. He just sat there, shoulders slumped, caught in that awful space between relief and dread. It wasn't my code, but now it's my fight. The envelope was already on the floor when I got back to my flat. No knock, no footsteps, just a slim rectangle of cream cardstock slid under the door like a whisper. I locked the door behind me and picked it up. No return address, no markings on the outside. Inside, a single photograph, black and white, grainy but unmistakable. A mosaic floor in the shape of a starburst, fragmented by time. And in the top right corner, just barely, a sliver of an arch with script carved into the stone. I had never seen it before. That alone told me something. The kids hadn't found it. The city hadn't archived it. Someone else had this. I flipped it over. One sentence was written on the back, in delicate handwriting. It wasn't erased, it was hidden. You just need the right light. My hands tightened around the photo. This is bigger than an app. I walked to the window, looking out over the rooftops of Karaköy. Istanbul shimmered below, layers upon layers of memory, shadow, and survival. Right light, I thought. Right angle. Right lens. My phone buzzed. A message from Leyla. We need to meet. Tomorrow. Everything changes. I stared out at the city for a long time before I responded. Then I whispered, let's find the light.